Sounded like a machine gun hitting the airplane. Birds.
You'll hear a big thump, and you'll probably see feathers and blood.
Everything seems fine, but something's just not right.
Oh, you know. You know when you hit a bird.
I would need more than 2 hands to count the number of near misses I've had with a bird. It's just a fact of flying.
I've had 2 bird strikes.
I have encountered some small birds and maybe some medium-sized birds, none of which have done any damage to my aircraft aside from a streak of some feathers and disgusting stuff.
I never experienced bird strike, but my friend, he catches the Canadian goose, which is huge. He's like, you know how much this turkey dinner cost me? This new engine, it's $250,000. Oh,
I've been a pilot for over 31 years. This was the scariest moment, although it wasn't that scary. It was more of a moment of making the decisions.
Of course, many of us know the story of
Sully Sullenberger.
And having to land in the Hudson after a bird strike.
Universal praise tonight for the U.S. Airways pilot who pulled off a flawless landing in the icy Hudson River. His name is Sully Sullenberger III.
I was flying out of San Francisco. San Francisco has 2 parallel runways, and as we took the runway for takeoff, saw a large flock of birds landing between the runways. And first thing that came into my mind was, boy, when I get cleared for takeoff, I hope they don't fly in front of me. Well, we got cleared for takeoff. As we lifted off, sure enough, a flock of birds came right in front of the airplane.
Once you're very close to the bird, it either goes up or down, so your instinct is naturally to pull up, because once it's coming at you, hopefully the bird goes down. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and you'll hear a big thump, and you'll probably see feathers and blood.
It sounded like a machine gun hitting the airplane.
a smaller bird. Maybe you have a dent in the wing, but that's not to say that they can't cause a problem.
We got airborne, leveled off at a lower altitude.
You fly the plane first and figure out what you're going to do next.
Procedures call for basically checking the airplane out, making sure there's no vibration, checking the engine, seeing that the engine instruments are correct. Everything was fine. And the first officer said, well, everything seems fine. We don't have any vibration. Engines look fine. I think we can continue on to our destination. And right then I was looking at the airplane. I felt something and I said, something's just not right.
There can be thousands of checklists for every single different type of plane. We're trained to know that checklist by heart because if something happens, you want to already know what you're going to do before you're even thinking about it.
in aviation, we say aviate, navigate, and communicate.
In that order.
Aviate means fly the plane.
There's been a lot of situations where, unfortunately, the pilots were not flying the plane first, and they made the situation a lot worse than it had to be.
Navigate. Now we need to decide where we're going.
And then communicate.
We have to let air traffic control know that this is no longer a normal flight.
Those are the 3 things you always have to do and always have to prioritize in an emergency situation.
You have to feel the airplane. You have to feel what it's doing. And once you get used to an airplane, you know what you're looking for. It's sort of like you driving your car versus somebody else's car. You know what your car feels like. You don't know what somebody else's car is doing. Various different airplanes act in different ways. And at that time, I had over 6,000 or 7,000 hours in the airplane. I could feel that there was something wrong. And a lot of people ask me, have I ever been scared? Well, yeah, we get scared. We just try not to show it. And then we calm the passengers down. Obviously, they're worried about what's going on, especially if they heard some bangs and things, which I'm sure they did. I'm sure they heard those birds hitting the airplane. So you just kind of try to get on the PA, calm them down. Everything's okay. The airplane's fine. We're fine. We're gonna be okay.
I think a lot of passengers look to crew to see how to react.
If you saw a pilot, crying or being angry, you would not feel safe.
So once our crew remains calm, our passengers tend to remain calm as well.
Sometimes the passengers don't even know there is a problem, and that's usually because whatever the pilots are doing up front, they're figuring it out. This is their aircraft. They know what to do. They know how to fly it, and they are in control of it.
You have to trust your gut a lot of times. You look at the instruments, they are very important. For example, what happened to JFK Jr., he didn't trust his instruments. He was going with his gut. You have to trust the instruments. Otherwise, which I've experienced, you get into vertigo. Your body thinks you're doing one thing. The airplane's doing something else.
If you're near an airport, go back to the ground and just check everything out. Make sure it's okay. Do not ever stop doing what you are trained to do.
So we turned around, told the passengers what's going on. We hit some birds. Nothing to worry about right now. We're going to go back and land in San Francisco. Of course, talked to ATC, told them what was going on. And as we were turning my autopilot kicked off by itself.
Everybody thinks like we start in putting autopilot and we fly. Yeah, in most of the cases it is, but what if a weather change? What if a diversion? What is a medical? What is the emergency happen? You never know what's going to happen in the flight.
Yeah, so that's not a problem. We normally land manually anyway. So as we lined up with the runway, the auto throttle kicked off. So, well, that's no problem. We can land anyway.
Old school stick and rudder flying.
All stick and rudder.
Like an Atari joystick.
It is the basis of every single thing that you do.
Thousands and thousands of hours of flight training.
If we become too reliant on the automation and you start losing some of those stick and rudder skills, you lose the fundamentals of how do airplanes fly the ways that they do. While automation can be incredible, at the end of the day, you as the pilot are the one flying the airplane.
So I went ahead, proceeded to land. And after we landed and got back to the gate, we saw that a bird was on one of our, what we call the angle of attack probe. And that's a vital instrument that provides information to our data computers. And there was a bird impaled on there. What I felt when I said something's just not right was the fact that I was looking at my airspeed and it just didn't seem right. Even though the airspeed was working, I said, just doesn't look right. So we went back and landed. Now, had we continued, we would have had what's called unreliable airspeed, which puts us in a more of a precarious situation. First officer obviously did not have as much experience as I did in the airplane, and he was thinking, well, it's okay to continue. Whereas I felt the airspeed wasn't right, the deck angle wasn't right. I added a few knots extra to the airspeed when we landed, just in case. And we landed. Everything turned out fine. We got another airplane and proceeded on to our destination.
It's one of those things that you learn to get more comfortable with it and learn to look out and recognize and be aware of that risk.
You have to tell the tower, you tell the people at the airport so they can go out and scare the birds away or send the dogs or whatever they do. At the end of the day there, you just kind of fill out a report. Maintenance personnel come out to the aircraft, they inspect the aircraft, and life goes on. My favorite bird.
What's my favorite bird, like an airplane?
I don't know. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I really like looking at Orioles for some reason.
Red-tailed hawk. She's a New York native like me.
I love hummingbirds. They're just very intriguing to me. They're so small, and I didn't realize until I first saw them that they were so small.
I'm a big bagel guy, so the seagull pigeon family, they're kind of into the bagels as well, I would say. So.
And the way they just hover around that hummingbird feeder, their wings moving so fast, they're just very intriguing to me.
They're kind of cool looking, up until the last couple of years, and the Orioles were always really bad at baseball. So it was like, oh, I feel bad for you, but you're a pretty bird. So, but now we're in a battle. We'll see what happens this year.